Imagine an empire so vast that it stretched from the borders of India all the way to the mountains of Greece. An empire that contained a staggering 44% of the entire Earth's population. Before Rome dominated the Mediterranean, before Alexander the Great carved his path across Asia, there was a superpower that dwarfed them all. They built the first transcontinental highway. They established the first concept of human rights. They possessed wealth that the ancient world couldn't even comprehend. For over 2,000 years, the West knew this legendary superpower by one name, Persia. But if you look at a map today, that name has vanished, replaced by a modern nation wrapped in complex geopolitics, Iran. So what happened? How did the greatest empire of the ancient world fall? How did it survive centuries of brutal invasions? And why, in 1935, did this ancient titan suddenly ask the entire world to erase Persia from the map? Settle in, because the story of how Persia became Iran is a tale of forgotten kings, burning cities, unbreakable culture, and a rebirth that changed history forever. Our story begins in the 6th century BCE in a rugged, mountainous region of southern modern-day Iran. At this time, the Persians were just a collection of nomadic tribes under the thumb of the powerful Median Empire. But in 559 BCE, a man came to power who would change the world. His name was Cyrus. History knows him as Cyrus the Great. Cyrus didn't just rebel, he unleashed an unstoppable wave of conquest. But what made Cyrus truly great wasn't his sword, it was his mind. In an era where conquering kings usually enslaved or slaughtered their defeated enemies, Cyrus did the unthinkable. When he conquered the mighty city of Babylon, he freed the enslaved Jewish people, allowed them to return to Jerusalem, and even funded the rebuilding of their temple. He created the Cyrus Cylinder, widely considered by historians to be the first charter of human rights in human history. Under his dynasty, as long as you paid your taxes and kept the peace, you could pray to whoever you wanted and speak whatever language you chose. Under his successors, like Darius the Great, the empire became a marvel of engineering. They built the Royal Road, a massive highway spanning nearly 1,700 miles, where relay riders could deliver a message from one end of the empire to the other in just 7 days. The Greek historian Herodotus was so amazed by this, it actually inspired the modern U.S. Postal Service motto. But no empire, no matter how great, is immune to the turning wheel of history. The Persians eventually cast their eyes toward a fractured collection of city-states in the west, the Greeks. This sparked the legendary Greco-Persian Wars, the battles of Marathon and Thermopylae, where King Xerxes famously clashed with the 300 Spartans. For over a century, the two civilizations remained locked in a bitter rivalry. And it was this exact rivalry that birthed Persia's ultimate doom. As we saw in our previous video on the story of Alexander the Great, a young Macedonian king crossed into Asia with a score to settle. In 330 BCE, Alexander did the impossible. He shattered the Persian army, chased down their last king, and marched into the jewel of the empire, Persepolis. And in a drunken night of vengeance, Alexander burned the magnificent city to the ground. The Achaemenid Persian Empire was dead. If you're fascinated by the epic rises and falls of these great civilizations, you are in the right place. Welcome to Majesty of History, where we bring the forgotten stories of our past back to life. If you're enjoying this journey, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, you might think Alexander's conquest was the end of the Persian story, but the Persian spirit is like a deeply rooted oak tree. You can cut down the branches, but the roots remain. After centuries of Greek rule, the locals rose up again. First came the Parthian Empire, fierce horse lords who became the ultimate nightmare for the expanding Roman Empire. Then came the Sassanid Empire. Under the Sassanids, Persian culture experienced a massive renaissance. They built grand universities, massive palaces, and resurrected Zoroastrianism as the state religion. For 400 years, the Sasanian Persians and the Romans were locked in a colossal heavyweight boxing match, trading blows and territories, exhausting both of their empires. But while they were busy looking at each other, a massive storm was brewing in the barren deserts of Arabia to the south. In the 7th century, newly united under the banner of Islam, Arab armies swept out of the desert. The Sassanid Empire, exhausted from decades of war with Rome, collapsed. The Arabs brought a new religion, a new administration, and a new language. Across the Middle East and North Africa, in places like Egypt, Syria, and Babylon, the local languages died out entirely, replaced by Arabic. But Persia was different. The Persians accepted the new religion of Islam, but they absolutely refused to let their culture die. In the 10th century, a Persian poet named Ferdowsi dedicated 30 years of his life to writing the Shahnameh, or the Book of Kings. It was a massive, epic poem, twice the length of the Iliad and the Odyssey combined, detailing the mythic and historic past of the Persian Empire. Ferdowsi wrote it almost entirely without using Arabic loanwords. This single book single-handedly saved the Persian language from extinction. They say the Arabs conquered the Persians with the sword, but the Persians conquered the Arabs with their culture. Soon, Islamic caliphates were dressing like Persians, adopting Persian architecture, and using Persian government systems. Fast forward to the 16th century, and the Safavid dynasty takes power. They make a crucial decision that shapes geopolitics to this very day. They establish Shia Islam as the official state religion, separating Persia from its Sunni neighbors. By the time the 19th and 20th centuries rolled around, the ancient empire was struggling. Caught in the great game between the British Empire and Imperial Russia, Persia was weak, economically exploited, and its newly discovered oil fields were being pumped dry by foreign powers. The proud descendants of Cyrus the Great found themselves treated as a backward third world state. Enter Reza Shah Pahlavi, a military commander who seized power in the 1920s with a desperate mission to modernize his country, throw off foreign influence, and restore the dignity of his ancient homeland. And to do that, he realized he had to change how the world looked at them. You see, the word Persia was actually a Greek invention. It came from Persis, which was just one small southern province where Cyrus the Great was born. It would be like calling the entire United States Texas. For thousands of years, the people living there never called their country Persia. In their own native language, since the days of the Zoroastrians, they called their homeland Iran Shar, which translates to the land of the Aryans, meaning the land of the noble ones. So, on March 21st, 1935, during the Persian New Year, Reza Shah issued a formal decree to the international community. He demanded that foreign diplomats, mapmakers, and governments stop using the Greek name Persia and start using the name the people themselves had used for millennia, Iran. It wasn't a name change at all. It was a reclamation. From the unparalleled tolerance of Cyrus the Great, through the ashes of Alexander's wrath, to a modern nation reclaiming its true ancient identity, the story of Iran is one of the most resilient chapters in human history. Thank you for watching this episode on Majesty of History.